Before today's video, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on the latest videos. If you want to see a case or topic covered by Paranormally Listed, then go to criminallylisted.com and fill out the questionnaire under the Suggest a Case tab. Number 3. The Hellhounds, a Mark Twain forest. Apart from being named after a famous American author, the Mark Twain forest is well known for being home to terrifying creatures. Considering that it's over 3.5 million acres of forest spanning 29 counties, it shouldn't be shocking that some wild things can be found there. The Mark Twain forest makes up 11% of the forested land in Missouri. The forest sits above the New Madrid fault line. In 1811, there was an earthquake in the area, and it caused the Mississippi River to flow in the opposite direction. There are many stories of sightings of witches and ghosts in the forest. According to one man, some treasure from the lost city of Atlantis is buried in the forest. Tragically, many people have also disappeared in the forest. So with this mixture of magic, legend, paranormal, and tragedy, it's no wonder that this forest is also home to very large black dogs with glowing eyes that attack people. They've been described as being as big as a St. Bernard with an abnormally long tail. Several people have encountered the Hellhounds and survived to tell the tale. One person said he heard noises and then he saw a huge dog. The dog was staring at him. It hunched back and was making chuffing noises. The person thought they were about to be attacked, but instead, the dog just went away. Another person who encountered a hellhound was a photographer who ventured into the forest in November 2019. He wanted to get some nighttime photographs. The photographer heard some noises coming from the lake. It was a very small lake, and it was easy to see if anyone was in the water. He flashed his light and saw no one, not a creature, not a person, not even a ghost. Nevertheless, he had an overwhelming feeling that he was being watched. But that wasn't the weirdest part of the experience. The strangest thing was that the lake was covered with ice. Yet he heard sounds coming from the water, like splashing, waves, and ripples. The water noises continue, then he heard laughter, described as maniacal. This sent a cold chill down the back of his neck. He felt like something was behind him. At this point, he took a few photographs. Then something came right at him and then disappeared. He wasn't sure what it was, but he sensed it was dog-like. Finally, at that point, the determined photographer decided it was time to run away. Unfortunately, he did not get a picture of the creature he encountered. Another time, a father and son were hunting in the forest. Little did they know that they were going to be the ones who were hunted. The father and son were setting up camp for the night. The son had a feeling that he was being watched. He then heard some crashing sounds. He then heard whatever made the sounds run away. Then, around 1:30 a.m., the father and son heard another crashing sound. The next day, they decided to go ahead with the hunt. During the hunt, the son came face to face with a huge creature with reddish-brown fur. The creature ran away, and the son saw his opportunity to escape alive, so he ran away. But the creature decided to give chase. The son heard the creature catching up to him, but he didn't want to look behind him. Luckily, the father drove up in his four-wheeler and rescued his son. The father said he saw the creature running behind his son. They managed to escape. The father and son duo returned to their cabin, grabbed their things, and fled the forest. They even left some of their hunting equipment behind. But the creature, or creatures who live in the Mark Twain forest, don't seem to have any legend or story that accompanies their existence. This is certainly not the case for El Cadejo, which is our next hellhound. Number 2. El Cadejo. The stories of El Cadejo originate in Central America. The story has many versions, but the basic facts are almost the same across all the stories. There is usually a black Cadejo and a white Cadejo. The creature is dog-like, and they can be as large as a cow. Sometimes it has hooves instead of paws. The black Cadejo usually has red eyes, and the white one usually has blue. The name Cadejo is believed to have been derived from the Spanish word for chain, which is cadena. The creature is named this because at times the Cadejo has chains on it or is dragging chains behind it. The last interesting description of the Cadejo is that it smells like a goat. If you manage to kill a Cadejo, the place where it dies will reek of goat for days. The origin story of the Cadejo combines several different cultural backgrounds and worldviews. First, in the Mesoamerican culture, there's belief in the Nahual. The Nahual is an animal spirit that serves as a protector to people for the entirety of their lives. The Xoloitzintli is a hairless dog breed in Mexico and Central America. In folklore, they are guardians that bring souls to the underworld once their time on Earth is over. The name is due to an association with the god Xollotl. Xollotl is the Aztec god with a dog head, and he guides the dead in the afterlife. So this was one step towards how the Cadejo legend is understood today. The other is influenced by Spanish colonization in Central America. They brought Christian beliefs to the legend, specifically the dualistic view of good versus evil. The black dog is evil, and the white dog is good. But there are stories in which both dogs are good and work together. Regardless, the point is that these ideologies came together to create the legend of the Cadejo that we know today. There are many versions of the Black Cadejo. Sometimes this dog is the embodiment of the devil. He may not attack you, but if you see him, it's a horrible omen. Sometimes he's a regular Cadejo who will kill you if the white Cadejo isn't around. There's also a third Cadejo, which is a hybrid of a black Cadejo and a regular dog. People can kill this one, but it's incredibly difficult. This Cadejo doesn't bite. It kicks and it might try to peck you, but it won't bite you. Ultimately, each dog has their role, specifically concerning travelers at night. The black Cadejo will attempt to harm the traveler or tempt them away from the road and into making poor decisions. Also, they supposedly eat babies. So if you're traveling and see a black Cadejo, it might be a problem. The white Cadejo, on the other hand, tries to look after travelers. They specifically look after people who might be intoxicated or people who have no home and wander around. The Cadejo has several origin stories. One is that a man named Don Eladio hurt himself while he was working. He was demoted, and his life began to spiral out of control. He became a depressed person and began abusing his wife. He turned to alcohol, which only made things worse. Don Eladio's son, Juan, wanted to scare his dad to provoke him into changing his life. Juan disguised himself by using the hide of a cow and some chains. One night, after his father came home drunk, he scared him. This terrified Don Eladio, and he promised to never drink again. While sobriety did last for some time, he eventually went back to drinking. So Juan scared him again when he came home drunk. A terrified Don Eladio ran into the woods and got lost. Don Eladio found his way out of the forest days later. Unfortunately, Don Eladio didn't know it was a prank by his son, and he decided that he would kill the monster the next time. Juan decided to scare his father again. When Don Eladio tried to kill him, Juan revealed himself. Don Eladio was furious. He cursed his son so that the disguise would become his natural form and he would travel the roads at night. The curse worked and Juan became the dog-like creature that roams at night. The story goes that God decided that Juan would serve to protect people at night and punish those who deserve it. Another origin story of the Cadejo comes from El Salvador. Two brothers went to a magician's house during a storm. The brothers were terrible house guests and a great burden to the magician during the storm. The magician decided to curse the roads that led to their village. As the brothers walked home, they turned into the black and white Cadejos. When they arrived at their village, they were banished. Ultimately, they were cursed to wander the roads at night. These stories have become legend in Central America, with many people truly believing in the legend of the Cadejo, and many have encountered the Hellhounds. One such encounter is from the 1930s or 1940s in Nicaragua. After walking his grandmother to work, a boy came across a black Cadejo with red eyes. When he saw the Hellhound, he sprinted home. The dog followed and scratched at his door, but eventually left. The boy was disturbed by the incident and vowed to never travel alone again. He never saw Cadejo again. Another similar story took place in Guatemala in 1975. A 19-year-old woman named Maya was with her sister. They were running an errand late at night and saw a black dog that would not let them go by. They were so scared that they rushed home, careful not to turn their backs on the dog. Maya fell at one point, but by then, the dog had vanished. So if you're walking alone in Central America, you should watch out for the Cadejo. Number 1. The Black Shuck. The last hellhound can be found in England and is called the Black Shuck. There are two theories as to where the name came from. One is that it's from the Old English word "sukuka," which means devil or fiend. The second is that it comes from a local dialect where the word shucky means shaggy or hairy. This version of the hellhound can either be an omen of death or a kind companion. The Black Shuck looks a lot like the other hellhounds on this list. It is described as a large dog, sometimes as big as a cow. Where the description diverges is that sometimes the Black Shuck only has one eye, and sometimes the eyes are red or green. Also, sometimes the Black Shuck is just a body with no head. The Black Shuck is often found in places with strong associations with death and the spirit world, such as graveyards. It can also be found at crossroads. They are found at crossroads because, in Europe, there's a belief that crossroads are where spirits can be seen because it's a place between worlds. What may await you when you meet a Black Shuck varies as well. As we mentioned, it can be a dark omen. People who encounter it may get sick or die soon, or one of the relatives may get sick or die. There's another theory that the Black Shuck is a messenger of the devil. But then there's also stories of these creatures acting as protectors who look after people traveling home. There are three prominent stories of the Black Shuck. The first took place in the year 1127 in Peterborough. People saw frightening-looking men riding on black horses or goats, and they were accompanied by 20 to 30 black hounds. The hounds were described as having large black eyes. The men and the dogs hid in the forest and in the deer park for about 50 days. In folklore, this has become known as the Wild Hunt. Some have associated the Wild Hunt with the change of seasons going from fall to winter. It's argued that these hunters are a metaphor for the wind and the winter weather, and the wild hunts that occur across Europe are a way to encourage people to go inside for the winter. The second two stories occur on the same day, August 4th, 1577, in two churches, one in Bungay and the other one in Blythburgh, which are both in Suffolk. On August 4th, 1577, there was a terrible storm in the area. At the Blythburgh church, the storm was raging during the church service. A Black Shuck entered the church and killed a man and a boy. The Black Shuck also caused the steeple to collapse. Evidence of the Black Shuck are marks left on the north door of the church, which can still be seen today, 4.5 centuries later. On the same day, a dog ran into the Bungay church. The dog strangled 2 parishioners to death. Abraham Fleming, the Reverend of the Bungay church, wrote about this experience, saying it was an example of God's wrath, no doubt to terrify us that we might fear him for his justice, or pulling back our footsteps from the paths of sin to love him for mercy. Whatever the Black Shuck is, it sounds terrifying. Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you found it interesting. If you did find it interesting, please make sure you subscribe. We'll have a new video about the paranormal every week. If you just discovered this channel, please make sure you check out our other channel, Criminally Listed. We have over 325 videos featuring bizarre but true crime stories. You can find it at youtube.com/criminallylisted. We also have a podcast about cold cases that were eventually solved called Criminally Listed Presents Into the Killing. You can find it on Stitcher, Spotify, Amazon Music, and anywhere you find great podcasts. But that's all for today. Thanks again for watching.